All right, hello everyone. We are back for a live demonstration of using the new app, the Golf Clash Notebook. And if you guys haven't seen this, it is available in the Google Play Store for Android right now. And let me just set up my bag. Let me put, I'll keep Cat in there, why not? We'll use this bag, and I'm just going to go in and do some demonstrations for you guys. So let me get in here. Let me just for kicks, let me throw in a club that I don't usually use, just so I can kind of show you the functionality of this. So here you can see my Golf Clash Notebook has a certain bag, and in game I have a different. So there you saw me switching over a couple clubs. I have Goliath instead of B52, for example, and I'm just going to kind of demonstrate that feature for you as well. So let me just go in here real quick, and we'll go to Tour 11 real quick, and I'm going to do some tutorials for you guys, either one or two holes for you guys, get you guys all squared away so you can actually see this thing being used. So one of the things that you'll want to do, especially if you've seen, here you can see my opponent is going. One of the things that I can do, make sure I put my driver on, for instance. And for a headwind, I'm going to use just max on a tailwind, on a headwind shot like this. I'm just going to use max, so I'm not even going to use the tool. But I can at least set up my bag. So here I can see, I have a power 3 ball on, and I have a POC 7, that's my driver. And I'll just set those up, and then, because I'm going to use a Kingmaker ball, so I already have them pre-loaded in. For just this one time, I'm not going to use the wind. I can input it if I want. Here you can see that, if I input it, one of the things that I can do instead of hitting close or enter, here you can see it's 9 rings. So that'll give you a nice visual as to, kind of where the ball's going to land. You can see I'm about 5 or 6 rings into overpower. I'm going to be landing way short, like kind of in there. But, for the full feature of that, there's really nothing that I absolutely need. One of the other things that I like to do, I like to play with the grid on. I didn't need it for the tee shot, but I will use it for the second shot. So here you're going to see that I have it already pre-turned on. Another thing that I could do is I could turn on auto rotate. Don't plan on using it in that match. But if I do, I can put it on as necessary if I'd like. Wow, these are very tricky winds. So one of the things that I would do for this hole is set up my cat. Also, I'm a little bit uphill on this hole. So another thing that I can do is I can just set up, here I'm going to just put in a -10 adjustment, because there is a little bit of slight uphill elevation. If you can't see it, the easiest way to figure it out is you can see that, you can't see the cup from where I'm standing. So if I go and hit take shot button, for example, you can see that the cup and pin are up a hill. So you need to make sure that you go less rings. So when I go to type in 11.5 miles per hour, and then, I can go to this slider feature. That's one of the first things that you'll do. So first off, I'll kind of scan, and I'll say, you know what, I'm probably going to land it around here. Max is way up here. So maybe I'm going to move this slider to say here for my positioning. And here you can see that it's maybe about 6.4 rings, and maybe about here. So I'll just kind of move it 6.4 rings. I'm going to just do this very rapidly for this first one. A pretty complicated shot. Normally I'm going to use the grid, but since I'm talking here for you guys, I'm just kind of, just hitting the ball up here and just, getting it up in position. Because I was kind of, showing you guys, and, this is kind of a perfect example, as you could see how kind of slowly I was navigating there. if you do, take too much time and don't actually go into shot execution mode, you are going to be very slow, and you got to avoid timing out using this app. So you could see me being very lazy with the way that I adjusted the rings, and I didn't even get to use my grid line. But that's what my intended goal is I'm going to use that grid line. And when we get the shootout, you'll see that I'll use that grid line on the shootout shot. A little bit. Oh crap. That's all right. I'll do another hole for you guys. I forgot I was going to miss that. Got a little distracted. But in any regard, you saw basically the way that worked out. Let's see where I am million. Oh, I need to win a couple matches anyway. I don't even think I'm in the promotion zone. Oh my goodness, I got to get way up there. I don't feel like playing that much. It's like 4 more games. All right, I got to try to speed through some of these. Let me do another one for you guys. Hopefully the functionality of this will be a little bit better. Southern Pines, hole 4. So another thing that I can do, make sure that I get my driver set up. In this case, I'm going to use, here you can see it's less wind, but I'm going to use the same ball. I can play around with that, but it's really not going to be necessary. I'm just going to use the max value for drives, for instance. Here you can see where max is. One of the things that you'll see me do, I'm going to go this way. And this time you're actually going to get to see me use the grid in action. So you're going to see the full functionality. So what I'll do is I'll use this line as kind of a positioning trick, and then I'll adjust these rings. So here you can see that I need to go about 8 rings, maybe just a little bit shy. So that's what you're seeing me do there. Perfect ball. And also nice little curl. And you can see that it just kind of lands perfectly and slides up here through the fairway. So you'll see a nice little trick being able to use that grid line. And you can see the positioning is a little bit higher, so you can always go a full 10 rings. That's why we designed it that way, a little bit higher than the take shot button. So that way you guys have more room to do that full adjustment and can do it in one motion for a faster pull as opposed to using the take shot button. So it's designed to help you guys, and that's how you use those. And you'll see that that left needle is aligned with that left grid line that we put in for you guys. So now you're seeing the functionality of all 3 grid lines in just from that tee shot. And we'll do that for every shot. And another thing, I can start setting up my bag. As I mentioned, I forgot. Let's just say, I forgot to change, which I did because I did it intentionally. But, first thing that I can do is I can see, well, first off, it is maybe just a tiny bit uphill. So I might, just factor that in. Maybe, you'll have to just play around with them a little bit. Here's 12.3. We're going to get 12.3 wind. Next thing that we'll do, looks like I'm going to be more towards the cap, but I at least wanted to show you that. Here it's going to say 8.9 at min. And what we'll do is we'll do the 12.3. We're going to be more towards here. 7.1 is going to be about the rings that will go. So I'm going to try to do this very, very fast. I'm getting a little too tight on time. I'm just going to have to kind of rush things a bit, but that's, the basic gist of what you're going to do to use this tool. And there you can see all I did is came up a little bit short. Keep in mind that you have to play wind effects. So not only do I need to go that 7.1 that you can report, but you could see that I was a little bit tight on time, especially with bringing the wrong club. It is going to be, kind of a tough tool until you get comfortable with doing all the features of it. You are going to feel probably a little rushed with the way that you got to navigate everything. But that's what this guide is going to do. Is it's going to help you guys try to figure these things out in the early stages for you. But what you'll do is you'll use the elevations that basically I give you for the tournaments, for example. So I'll be helping you guys along the way, and setting up those uphill or downhill elevations based on the hole at hand. And if it's off on Monday, then I'll fix it for Tuesday for you guys. So we'll always have a nice adjustment. I'll always have that nice adjustment numbers for you. And as I make a mistake, I'll just say, oh, I should have used this much more elevation. And the speed will come with time. You just need to go in with a strategy. So instead of me talking and discussing all this, I need to be thinking, oh, I need to do this. So here you can see, first thing, it's going to be a driver. I can reset the club here. Here's 6.7 miles per hour. That's 5.4 at max. Now I do think max is pretty good, but I might want to up this. So I'm going to do plus 10%. It's going to be 6.0 rings. So I do play very close to max on this hole. Now also, if you see, I'm shooting to a lower target, so that's why I'm playing around with that number a little bit. And aside from that, I am going to be pulling towards this max distance, which is about 6 rings. So that's the way that you'll see me pull, right towards 6 rings here. There's a great ball. See how this comes in. Looks good so far. Up, up, up. Just a little too high. So you don't want to quite get that high. This is going to swing through a little bit fast. But it's not a bad shot. Just a little high. It was very close. So there you see 2.70. And you can see, that's the elevation number that I use. It's going to help you guys get dialed in. And you'll be able to use these grid lines to help you make your adjustments, as opposed to, just eyeballing it. So it's really going to be a nice, useful aid for you. So let's see how my opponent does. I had a pretty good shot, but with this hole, it all comes down to with height that you get on the hill. So wherever you get the positioning, let's see how this comes in. So far, it looks pretty close to mine. No, it's getting up a little bit too high. So this is probably going to swing outside of mine just a tiny bit. It's going to be very close. We're both about 3 yards. It looks like he just might have snuck inside mine. Oh, look at that. We know too. So that's the way the breaks go. No big deal. We're just going to go back in. We'll do another one. I just want to get you guys, getting comfortable with this app. I don't know if I'm going to get promoted or not. I don't think I'm going to play that many games. So very little chance that you're going to see me play all those games to get in the promotion zone. I think I got other accounts that need to get up as well. So just something to think about. This one's in Master 3, so it can fall down to Master 2, no problem. But, this is kind of the thought process that you'll want to be doing. Is you see my opponent is getting to go here. And you do have, a relatively level lie on this shot. I usually play it very close to my max number. So I'll just kind of set my ball up. Of course, I'm going to use the Power 3 ball. I'll use the Kingmaker for this hole. Here you can see that barely creeps to the fairway. Mine's going to kind of be similar here. I'm going to need to go max OP. And I'll just set my wind based on the wind that they give me. Here's 12.3. And what it's probably going to require for this shot is a very max OP shot. So you can see here is about 10 rings, so I'll just want to make sure that wherever I get this max set up, that I'm kind of looking 10 rings down as kind of, if this is here, I'm just trying to kind of visualize. I don't think there's really a threat of me hitting this too far, so just going to kind of full throttle this. Anytime that you get a wind like this, it's just kind of a mega wind. Here you can see I get it up down towards the edge of the fairway, and I'll be able to easily get it, at least towards the green, and we'll see what kind of wind they give us for the second shot. My opponent needs to get kind of a little lucky, and looks like straight into the face is not going to be a lucky wind. So this isn't a very good example, for the functionality of this application, as we're just kind of maxing everything out. This is the only kind of tour where you usually kind of get in these situations. Maybe sometimes in Tour 10, but for the most part, you can focus on precision shots as opposed to need to do these full overpower shots. So here I will, first thing that I'll do is I'll just basically kind of set up where I need to. I'll use my ball guide a little bit to kind of help me. I'll use a little bit of overpower. I'm just going to try to scoot this up, and I'm going to, give this pretty much everything that I have as well. So I'm not really going to get to use the tool this time around. But here you can see that I just kind of hit it up into this space here. See if that rolls off. Looks like it did. So we'll be able to, if I want, I can set up for a wedge shot as well with this tool. I do have all the clubs in here. I can change it to whatever club that I want to do this shot. So here you'll see that I'll get my end bringer ready, and I won't need to worry about too much with the end bringer on this case, because it's going to be very, very min type club adjustment. So if I was, wanted to punch this wind in, I could close this down, and there you could see, kind of my quarter value is going to probably be kind of similar to how this plays. So here you'll see me put it into the cup here. And, I won't need to go more than quarter adjustment. So there's, 3 rings. See, it's just off the edge of the cup. Just right into the cup there. Very, very small adjustment necessary for that shot. And, just so you know, I could use the slider and get it even... I might need to get, below min in those type situations to where, you don't even have, a quarter of a club. But here you can see, able to get that one. Let's go back in here. We'll do one more hole for you guys. Oh, maybe 2 holes. We'll see. Maybe 1. This is a lot of tutorials. A lot to take in all at one time, too. So I'll just try to get this as best as I can. Here you can see 10.9. We're going to go to... So So one thing I like to do is I like to use max club pretty much spot on for this hole. So I'm just going to go right in that 8.8 rings. Here you'll see that I'll rotate the screen. And this is kind of a nice visual where you can see me go 8.8 rings. Additionally, you'll see me, I always go full curl. I did hit a great ball there. It shouldn't cost me. You can see very centered. And with all the curl that I put on, keeps it well away from the bunker. So there you can see. And you know, this is kind of one of those things that I mentioned where I tee it off and then get my second club ready. So here you can see that I put cataclysm on and then just wait for the wind. Also, there's a slight elevation on this hole. I don't know what it is. I'm going to use just a little bit. You know, minus 5, for example. It's a little bit uphill on the second shot. And as I mentioned, you know, the way that you can kind of see that is when you're looking, you'll see that the, you know, from that fairway, it's just slightly at a higher position. Just slightly. It's very, very minimal. You know, you might not even, you technically don't need to do the -5 at all. But I'm just going to do it. Just because I can. And just to kind of show you guys some different type adjustments. And here you can see we'll go 6.8 and then I'll scan. You know, I figure that I'll set up right around here. This might be about the 40% number. So I'll set right about here. And you can see that it tells me 4.1 rings for a return value. Now, additionally to what I need to do is I need to offset my guide first hand. So you'll see me offset by maybe about a grid, kind of like this. And then I'll move the 4 rings. So you'll see that I'll set the button right to about 4.1 and then I'll move the rings. So keep in mind that I am factoring in wind effect with the, hit a great ball. That should hit it out to the left. So here you're going to see that it misses to the left of the hole. You got to hit your perfects, but you can see with the adjustment, had I hit perfect ball, that was going to be going right towards the hole. So just using the app isn't going to be enough. You have to factor in wind effect. But this is something that you always have to do anyway. So you'll see that I, you know, set it up to where, you know, I had the guide offset before I did the ring adjustment. Now, how much to offset? I usually go about 1 green grid per 4 to 5 miles per hour. And towards min club, you know, you might want to go a little bit less, you know, more towards that 4 because the ball's not in the air as long. So, you know, 4 miles per hour, no. Maybe every 6 miles per hour, for example, in that case, is how many you might want to go. So I would want to offset, you know, a ring, 1.2 rings, somewhere in there, or 1.2 green grid. So you can see those little green blocks, and that's how much you'll be doing your adjustment off of. So next thing, I'll reset this, and this should be a long iron, as I mentioned. You know, from the earlier, you know, you guys had me, and I showed you guys that you know, I brought the wrong long iron intentionally, just so you could see that I'll go into my secondary inventory, which you can find by using this drop down. You know, all your clubs that aren't in the bag still get stored in there as long as you set them up to do so. And then all I'll do additionally, I usually play this very close to max ring adjustment, pretty spot up. So it's very, very minimal difference from what I do on this hole. But keep in mind that you always have to consider wind effect on this hole. So whatever my max wind is, first I'm going to set up, and that's very close to the true number. I'll just use max pretty much spot up, which is going to be 4 rings. But keep in mind that you need to factor in wind effect. So when I set up here, I need to make sure that I'm aiming a spot which is factoring in wind effect. So I'm not just trying to land on any spot. I'm trying to pick kind of a good spot. And I'm going to rotate the screen this way and go 4 rings. So there's 3 that I'm going to set up to. I'm just going to go 1 beyond that. So 4 rings. It's pretty spot up. Keep in mind that I had that guide offset. So once it actually lands, and here you can see that it still actually lands and goes to the left of the hole. So that's wind effect making the ball wind up way over there. So it's just something that you've got to be thinking about as you're playing. It looks like I need 2 more for a pin chest. I'm going to just reset my bag a little bit. Let me just play around with some other things maybe. Nah. We'll just keep it like this. See where I'm at now. 100 mil. I probably need 2 more wins to get in there. We'll see how this next game goes, I guess. So I did want to give you guys, a very nice tutorial here, just so you could see some demos of some shots, how to use the app. Hopefully overall, you guys are going to be able to figure out some cool uses for it. Here you can see we're getting a headwind that usually affects the way that I'm going to play this. Let's just for fun pull out a dead ball, try to max this, see if I can get it to the fairway. It's very close at that wind angle. Might not be able to get it there. Ooh, so just made it. That was max everything. Anytime you have a headwind, it's very, very hard to get to that fairway. Now what I do on this hole is I use rotation. So I'm just going to toggle it on. If I want to, I can leave it on at all times, just like you see me doing with the grid. Additionally, I'm using a power 4 ball now. I just wanted to show you some kind of diverse shots, so make sure that you do change that adjustment to the wind 4 ball, because you're going to have a little bit more carry time, and it's going to affect the way that your ball goes. So let's see what we have here. 7.7 straight in the face. Plus, anytime I'm probably going to need to go full OP too. So anytime that I do that, I'm going to probably add on maybe like 20%. So 7.3 rings. So I'm going to kind of be looking at 7.3 rings down from here as my land zone. So maybe right in here for a land zone area. So I'll set up my spin according to that. So here I'm going to use maybe 4 bars. And I'm going to use that rotation control here. And just kind of aim right for this corner very aggressively. Here you can see I'm going into landscape mode and just going full throttle. Let's see if I can't bend this corner now. I did hit a great ball out to the right. Let's just see. It does creep right onto the fringe. I took just a bit too much on the backspin. I probably should have kept it around 3 bars of backspin, but overall none too bad, and we should easily give ourselves a very manageable pitch from there. So not too bad anyway, so it's not too big of a deal. One thing that you'll want to do is set up probably for your pitch. So here you're going to see me reset this. Go to end bringer. Here you can see 10.8. It's 3 rings at min. It's probably going to play pretty close to that, to be honest with you. I'm probably very close to a quarter adjustment here. So I'm just going to kind of play it like that. Anytime that you're in here tight, you're going to just want to just marginally move things. And there you can see that I just move it offline. Perfect ball. And right into the cup there. So if I was back there pitching, for instance, I could set up, let's just work through my opponent's shot here, for instance. 13.5, it's 8 at max. So what you'd want to do is you'd want to be scanning for the land zone. So if it's at mid club, it would be a 6-ring adjustment. Keep in mind that you have to factor in wind effect. So one of the things that you're going to probably see me do a lot is I might just do an overcorrection on these pitches. So if I want to do an overcorrection, maybe I'll do plus 10%, or maybe I'll do plus 15. And then I'll use this slider and position to wherever I get set up. So let's say I factored it in and it looked like 60%. Well, then I'll go right here with the slider and then go the 7.6 rings, for instance, for my adjustment. And that's how I'll work through doing my adjustments. So just something to keep in mind to help you guys out. Since I haven't got to a thorn range for myself, at least there you guys have it supplemental and understand kind of what would happen in that scenario. Let me just reset my ball real quick. I like to go in kind of exactly like I like to play. And since I need one more pin chest, probably need one more win too. I could probably just, try to get this last win here for you guys. And, keep myself in the promotion zone so I don't get relegated. You can see we're getting this hole again. This time it's a tailwind. It's going to be a tailwind. So one of the things that I'll usually do on a tailwind, I might switch to a Titan just to get that little bit of extra carry, either a Titan or a Katana. In this case, I'm going to use a Katana. Also, keep in mind another trick that I can do. I can go to a POC. Here you can see it's going to be 10.6 miles per hour. And I can keep that plus 15% on as kind of a landing zone target. So I'm kind of visualizing, at least 10 rings down as my landing zone. I'm also going to curl it here. Oh, good ball. Holy moly. Not what I was intending to do. Let's hope it stays out of the rough. Looks like that curl was just enough to keep it out of the rough. And so now I am going to get to the thorn distance. So I did want to mention this case to you guys. And as I mentioned, I am going to probably use kind of like a plus 10% in over adjustment. Now, this is going to take some practicing. It's nothing that I have experience with really doing. I've been testing the app, not really playing too much. So, I don't have this down to a science, but this is basically how I'm going to treat it. So instead of doing elevation, I'm just going to do the plus adjustment as an overcorrection. So what you're going to see me do is I'm going to scan for max, for example. Scan for min. That's going to be the first thing that I do on thorn shots. It's either that or input the wind. Either or. So one of the things that you can do is you can have this open, ready to input. And then I can close it down temporarily, do my scan, and figure out where I need to go. So here's 9.9 miles per hour. I can do the scan. There's max right up there. I'm going to be setting up very close to this fringe. I'm actually very close to min. So I'm going to probably be, a little bit, I need to keep that. I'm going to be a little bit up for min, so I'll do this kind of at 3.9 rings or so. And set up right on this fringe here. And keep in mind, this is with an overcorrection. So I'm going to go right at that kind of 3.9 ring adjustment. Perfect ball. And it looks like it's just a little bit too much overcorrection. So it is going to take, some playing around with, tweaking a little bit. It's not going to be an exact science, but it's going to help you guys get very, very close and very, very consistent. Also, keep it in mind, landing on the fringe isn't always the best. But I wanted to make sure that, I kind of land away from that hill. You can see that hill up there on the green. So I usually try to position it, with that in mind for my adjustment. So my opponent here, much better drive. And you can actually see a much straighter needle than what I had to deal with. So keeping it over there to the side, really straighten this wind up, makes it an easier pitch. But in any regard, it's going to take, a little bit of practice getting these pitches down. But I think, as a general rule of thumb, you're going to want to do just a tiny, tiny marginal overcorrection, 5-10%. Another thing that I wasn't really thinking about is I was right at min club. You really don't need to do much of an overcorrection at min club. It's more towards max. Because the ball's not in the air very long. So when you're towards min club, you might want to use a plus 5%, for example. And when you get closer to max, you might want to use maybe as much as plus 15%, for example. So you really got to play around with the slider based on your distance from the hole as well. So let's see what we have here. Here we got this hole again, which is going to be that Goliath shot. So I can switch back to the Goliath. I can go 7.8. I usually use the max number, so I can either use the max or I can use the mid. It doesn't matter. Let me switch these balls. Oh, that's another. You know what? That's probably why I missed the wrong ball on. So one thing that you're going to have to remember is you'll have to switch those balls out very regularly. Be very careful about that. So here you're going to see that I'm going to set up kind of like this. And this is, with wind effect in mind. And I'm going to use this kind of 4.6 rings or so. So that's what you'll see me adjust here. Perfect ball. Little off. So I overcorrected my wind just slightly, and it's causing me to be just a bit off. So it might be hard to win with that shot. We'll see how it goes. I might have to play one more. You always have to be thinking wind effect, and it looks like I just maybe corrected just a tiny bit too much. But it also is, very dependent about land zone as well. You can see how different land zones really fluctuate this shot. But overall, I would have liked to have hit, a better shot than that. Ooh, that one's, will really skid along there. It looks like I'm going to sneak in, take this one. So I'll probably just end up ending this guide. And, good luck using this tool. As I mentioned, definitely pay attention to my guides. I'm really going to start getting these dialed in with how I go about, figuring out my adjustments. And, hopefully you guys find this guide useful for yourself and that you'll start to get a little bit more comfortable using the app. You could see more towards the end, I kind of got into a rhythm to where I could talk and adjust using it at the same time and do it a lot more speedy to get through those adjustments. Good luck, guys, with your rounds. Good luck playing around with this tool. Hopefully you guys like what you're seeing so far. And do be on the lookout for additional tutorials to come, as I will be, helping you guys more along the way. So good luck, guys, and see you guys on the next one.